This Week in Startups is brought to you by Walker Corporate Law, specializing in the representation of entrepreneurs. Visit walkercorporatelaw.com. Upstart, revolutionizing the process of personal lending. Checking your rate only takes 2 minutes and won't affect your credit at upstart.com/twist. And Campaign Monitor, email marketing platform used by more than 250,000 businesses worldwide. Try Campaign Monitor for free at campaignmonitor.com/twist. Listeners who sign up and become a customer receive a free t-shirt.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis, and today on the program, a founder who was here back in 2014.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, but Brian Brackeen, I got it right?
You're correct.
Brian Brackeen, welcome back to the program.
Good to be back.
4 years ago, you were telling me a little bit about Kairos, Kairos.
Correct.
Which everybody can visit at kairos.com, Kairos.com. And you were part of Angela Benton's NewMe accelerator, if I remember correctly.
Here in San Francisco.
Here in San Francisco. Explain to people what that accelerator was. Does she still do it or no?
She still does it.
She still does
more
it.
More online, more virtual.
It's virtual.
Yeah. It's for companies, early stage companies like many accelerators that have black or female or founders of color.
Got it. Underrepresented, as we say in Silicon Valley.
Absolutely, underrepresented.
Underrepresented. Is that insulting if people say underrepresented to you?
We're not underrepresented in Miami or Philadelphia or Atlanta.
Right. It happens to be in Silicon Valley.
Depends on where you are.
Exactly. It is interesting because we have, and we're going to talk a lot about race today.
Sure.
Because you're doing biometric and facial recognition, and you have some strong views on that. So we're going to get into that. But we might as well tackle it head on. For people who don't know, when people say underrepresented, the reason we don't say underrepresented, we don't say minority founders, is number one, because people of color are not going to be a minority for much longer.
Also, that's correct.
Because of how demographics are changing. And number two, we have minorities like Indian and Asian that are overrepresented on a statistical basis.
Also true. And you could also be overrepresented in certain geographies. You know, Mexico has plenty of Latin founders.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
not so many white ones.
Exactly. So theoretically, a white person would be underrepresented in a Mexico startup.
You've been at the game for a while. Has it changed much? Because when you were coming in, the NewMe accelerator it felt like that was necessary, I think, because there was such a dearth of representation in Y Combinator or some other incubators. Do you feel it's gotten better because people seem to be super focused on it in Silicon Valley?
Well, NewMe Accelerator at the time was the only game in town.
Only game,
I mean,
period.
Literally, the only one.
Right.
And so now you see these accelerators in different cities and different geographies, so that's definitely good. Obviously, it's still a problem, but it's very different. I think people are at least thinking about this when making decisions now.
It's good. It feels like we're making progress. Like, that's a good thing.
I would say so.
Yeah. It's interesting because, listen, as a white male, I don't have to deal with the issue, but I've been monitoring it. And, you know, just from my world, the number of underrepresented women, Latino X, or Latinx, I guess we call it.
Latinx, that's the latest term.
That's the latest term.
Yes.
And African American, I'm seeing many more founders. Do you think the number of founders has increased, or that Silicon Valley and that group of founders have just connected with each other better?
I think it's growing exponentially.
It's growing exponentially.
Growing exponentially.
Yeah.
I think that as far as startup, there's a ton of folks that are starting up. They tend to be still undercapitalized, which is a challenge. But I felt like I knew almost every black founder.
Right.
You know, when we first met.
Right.
Certainly 80% of the ones that were doing things that were interesting. Now I see new companies, you know, every day.
Yeah. Back then it was like, oh, you're a black founder. I know the other one. There's like 3 of them. Like it's unbelievable.
All unicorns.
All unicorns.
All
It's
unicorns.
like, well, that makes me feel, I think, better about the industry, that a problem, because a lot of times Silicon Valley, I feel like, gets no credit. And does Silicon Valley deserve some credit for realizing there's a problem and making an effort, do you think?
I think Mitch Kapoor does a really good job.
He does. And
he's
Freda.
here. And Freda, yeah. She's a rock star.
Yeah.
So the two of them, I think, have really moved the needle for this community.
For sure.
And then there are folks in other places like Hillman Accelerator in Cincinnati, or any accelerator in Miami or Atlanta, you name it.
Yeah.
Folks are really kind of taking the mantle and running with it.
Yeah. We just did an event over at the Kapor Center, and it is amazing what they've done out in Oakland to just be massively more inclusive. And we we do a founder university now for underrepresented. We let people, check if they believe they're underrepresented. So sometimes we'll have white females who will come to it, but we kind of let them decide if they're underrepresented. And it's amazing when you create a space for folks, I think like Angela Benton did, my perception and what I hear back from people is like, wow, you did this for us. Like, thank you. And it's inspiring and it just helps people connect.
That's why when you find somebody who does it the first time, you've got to support them,
right?
Big time. You think about one of our investors is Morgan Stanley, and they have an accelerator now and a program actually really for growth companies.
Right.
That program wouldn't exist were it not for Angela's work in 2014 and 13.
Right. Yeah, I follow her on the Instagram, and she is living her best life, just crushing it on Instagram. It's fascinating, like her and Gary Vaynerchuk, they have teams of people with them, apparently.
Literally following them around. Yeah.
It's like the new reality show is like just have folks Snapchat you all day or Insta story you all day.
Yeah, well, content is king, and then people fall in love with the person. And, Angela's based in Miami as well, so we see her all the time. And there's always someone behind her with a camera, with a light, with a microphone.
That's hilarious.
Just to say hi, get coffee.
And when you joined the NewMe Accelerator, did you have a product or were you just thinking about being an entrepreneur? What stage did they engage you and what stage did they engage people?
Had a totally different product, actually.
What was that back then?
It would end up being pretty good. It was basically a magic leap for business.
Huh.
Yeah. Would have worked out had I raised $1 billion or so for it.
AR for businesses.
AR for
like
businesses.
to do enterprise AR.
Exactly, correct.
Which everybody points to as the actual use case of AR that is likely to be definitely the beginning. I'm not sure if it'll be the end. But certainly it's the beginning because they can afford to pay for $2,000 glasses if they're going to cost that much.
And it makes sense for some of the use cases, right? You can actually make money, save money, with that tool.
Right. If you lower the number of mistakes made when somebody is fixing a jet, like it's going to save lives and save a ton of money. So tell me what's happened with Kairos. 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 Kairos, which is Greek for?
The most opportune moment.
Correct.
Thank you.
I didn't know that, but I'm going to pretend I did as a Greek. So what is Kairos? And where are you at with it? Because I know you raised some crazy amount of money, which is amazing.
Yes. So we're a facial recognition company. We focus in the enterprise space. So we kind of took that theme from NewMe and carried it all the way through. So we do facial recognition for theme parks, retailers, banks, blockchain. So let's say you, for instance, you want to do a banking transaction. I want to send you $1 million. Right?
Do it.
Because you're amazing.
Yes. Invest in my company now that you've raised $30 million for yours.
Absolutely. And so, in crypto, $400 billion of crypto has been stolen. There's a bunch of, scammers.
Isn't it crazy?
It's insane.
Only $400 million. It's got to be more.
$1 billion with the B.
Oh, $4 billion. Yes.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. And so what we do is we create a smart contract that uses our facial recognition so that I say, okay, this money is only for this face. If you don't present yourself, then it comes back to me.
So I take a picture of the person, or I have a picture online.
That's right.
And you say, this is for Jason. And then when I log in, you validate that with facial recognition.
That's right. However, even more interesting, and anonymity is important in crypto, right? And so I don't even have to say, this is Jason. I just have to say, this face is the only face that can open this transaction.
So either myself or Ricky Schroeder or James Spader with hair is going to be able to open this, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, so get to it first. Yeah.
My doppelgangers. So are people actually using that in the real world yet? Or is it one of these like white paper, pie in the sky ICO ideas?
Yeah, and that's a problem in ICOs too.
Right.
So we've got 3 or 4 customers on that product, but overall, independent of crypto,
right.
We have 70,000 customers using the product. We've processed over 1 billion faces since we last spoke. So yeah, this
wow.
Yeah.
And so people will use it for what type of applications, the facial recognition? Are they using it for security? Are they using it for social networking? What are they using it for?
So mostly everything but security and social networking.
Okay, so I picked the 2 use cases that I hear most often, but you're not doing those 2.
Not at all.
Interesting.
Some really good use cases is all the networks. So ESPN, Fox is one of ours, CNBC. So let's say you have all this video, right, of like Serena Williams or Venus Williams or different, Tiger Woods, right? before you couldn't tag all the images.
You'd have to have somebody go through it and tag it.
Yeah, 8%, 9% tops.
Right.
Now we actually go through and we tag all of their.
So you can go into their archives from the 70s and be like, this is Muhammad Ali, or this is Mike Tyson, or whoever.
Exactly. And because we can find features that don't change with age or weight, I can find like old Luther Vandross versus new Luther Vandross. That kind of thing.
Pre-donuts, post-donuts.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. You can find skinny Jason from the 90s versus Jason
You're
from
just
today.
as handsome now, bro.
Well, thank you for saying that, but I could lose 10 feet. Somebody saw a picture of me from 10 years ago, and they're like, wow, you were so good looking 10 years ago. I was like, I think you're insulting me. Now, you're saying you don't do security, and you have strong feelings, in fact, about police having facial recognition technology. When we get back from this quick break, I want you to tell me why you're not selling into police and the police state when we get back on This Week in Startups. This week, I have spent at least 10 hours cleaning up legal messes at startups I'm investing in. In one case, the founders didn't have vesting schedules, and one of the founders left the company. So now there's 40% of the company is owned by a founder who doesn't even work there and only worked there for 6 months. In other cases, people use the wrong corporate structure. They were LLCs, which then prevents them from ever getting venture capital. In other cases, they were registered in a foreign country and couldn't get investors in America. In other cases, they didn't even have non-disclosures and non-solicitation. So an employee left one of my startups and took 3 people with them because they didn't have a non-solicitation. All of these legal errors would have easily been caught by my friend Scott Walker at the Walker Corporate Law Group. They are a boutique law firm, and you've heard me talk about the Walker Corporate Law Group here on This Week in Startups many times. Well, they are focused on entrepreneurs and startups only. This is what they do at Walker Corporate Law, and they encourage fixed fees. In other words, they tell you what they're going to charge you for a service. So you don't have to sit there with that anxiety waiting to open that PDF and seeing some huge bill. Nope. You know up front what it's going to cost to do those mergers and acquisitions, licensing agreements, start your company, employee stock option plans, terms of service, privacy policies. All these things have to be done right, and they will cost 10 times as much to fix, because I'm literally doing that. Before I invest in a company, I give them a list. You have to fix the vesting schedule. You've got to get the company incorporated properly. You've got to get the IP assignment done. I'm literally doing cleanup work that Scott Walker would have solved for these companies had they used him as their attorney. So give him a call, 415-979-9998. You've heard me say that number before, 415-979-9998. Or email Scott directly, scott@walkercorporatelaw.com, scott@walkercorporatelaw.com, or visit walkercorporatelaw.com. You really have to get focused on these things. Have the right corporate structure, have the right cap table, have the right vesting schedule, IP assignments. If your company's worth doing, it's worth doing correctly. Get your legal stuff dialed in so that you don't have red flags popping up. And we literally had a meeting before this podcast where I was sitting with one of my people who went through some diligence, and there were like 7 issues that needed to be fixed. And we got to the end and said, you know what? Is this a sign that the CEO doesn't know what they're doing? Is this too many red flags for us to invest? Well, I'm telling you candidly, if you have too many of these red flags come up during due diligence, you could lose quality investors. So go talk to Scott Walker. He's a great guy. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. My guest today, Brian Brackeen, is back on the program at Kairos, Kairos.com. They raised $30 million in their token sale. Yeah. This is a token, like a Chuck E. Cheese token that I can use for like every time I want to do it, or I bought securities.
So one of the things that we didn't want to do is do a Chuck E. Cheese token.
Okay.
Right. We had venture investors. We'd raised $8.5 million before.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. And so, VCs aren't going for that, right?
Right. They're like, yeah, I'm going to trade in my preferred shares for a Chuck E. Cheese token that does what?
Doesn't go over well.
It might do something in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we said, okay, how can we do this? How can we, one, solve a problem in crypto that we think we can, 2, raise some additional capital? Because again, it's hard to raise growth capital when we're based in Miami.
Right.
So there's a geographic challenge. The African Americans have a hard time raising that level of capital.
Yeah.
And so we thought crypto was a good way to do it. So what we did was we tokenized all of our equity.
Wow.
Yeah, we actually did a stock split. So for every share you had, we gave you 5 tokens. And then we also sold new tokens to the market.
So if I were to buy 5,000 tokens from you, I'd be getting 5,000 shares in your company. And I would get them like delivered to my wallet.
Delivered to our wallet, or we hold them in custody if you like.
Or you'd hold them in custody. And then if I want to sell them to Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie or give her one, can I just give her one, or do I have to tell you I gave it to her?
Like a stock certificate, you've got to tell us that you gave it to her.
And then you approve and you have a chance to buy it?
Exactly.
So you have first right of refusal, whatever ROFR?
Like the standard terms, exactly.
Yeah, got it. So what is the benefit of tokenizing your securities?
So ultimately, we'll move to exchanges that are coming out now. Where you and a new Jackie who you haven't met yet can exchange things.
Got it. So those exchanges are coming. So startup companies will be able to, who are tokenized, the founders will be able to set rules and say, hey, you can buy 1,000 tokens.
As long as you follow these rules.
If you follow these rules. And if you want to sell them, it's okay. You just got to let us know. We have first chance to buy them. And then if we don't buy them in 7 days, you can sell them to whoever you want at whatever price you want.
And in the exchange case, it's not even approved. You can just do it as long as you follow the rules.
Got it.
Yeah.
What are the rules going to be when this happens?
There's rules about different countries. You can't sell to North Korea,
Got it.
things like
so
that.
generally keep it away from despots and dictators.
That's right. Yeah, no terrorists.
No terrorists. Okay. No ISIS.
Yeah, no ISIS.
Okay.
We're not fans.
So we're not
table.
ISIS, if you're listening, you cannot be part of Jason's syndicate. No seed invest for you, ISIS. It is actually something that people are concerned about, is that nefarious or bad actors could actually buy tokens, and they certainly have bought crypto.
Absolutely.
But you don't want them on your cap table for sure.
Absolutely not.
So let's take a look at the product in action here. I'll sportscast it for people who are listening. You can pull it up here. Now, you were telling me earlier that you're not selling into police.
Correct.
But I thought that was the big win for facial recognition. That's what we've been told on television and, thousands of times that, hey, facial recognition is going to catch bad guys.
Yeah.
You disagree.
Yeah, all great businesses, it's the opposite that makes the most money, right?
Okay.
We look at the market. One, there are way more companies in the world than there are police departments or U.S. governments, right?
That makes sense.
And two, the kinds of problems we're solving for folks are big enough and the margins are good enough that it makes more sense. Government contract is low, big contractor. It's just a default business. But even more importantly, we don't think the technology is appropriate for government use. And actually in the demo, I'll kind of show you why.
Yeah, here we go. I see a demo of 3 dudes.
These are, 3 fine dudes from the Kairos staff.
Those are team members. Great.
They are.
And they're in Arizona or at the Grand Canyon or something, where there's some picture behind them.
At least the picture is. Yes, this is in Miami. And so you've got here, you can probably tell, a gentleman who's Hispanic, a gentleman who's African-American, and then a gentleman...
And a white bro.
And a white brother, exactly. Yeah. European-American, not the term these days.
Is that it? You
Yeah.
just call us white guys.
And so up top, that's what we see as humans. And on the bottom, this is what a deep learning AI neural net sees.
Okay.
This is work that actually has not been done in the past. So usually people just set up a neural net and say, okay, there, we got the right answer, but they don't know how it got to that answer.
Got it.
We're deconstructing that because it's so important. And what you see at the bottom is the gentleman in the middle is kind of hard to see or not there at all.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, that's one of the bigger problems in society. So there's not a lot of training data for African Americans. Or just black people in general. I shouldn't just say African Americans. We're underrepresented on college campuses. And oftentimes these algorithms are born on college campuses.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And then also you get beyond that, you look at the teams that make up most AI companies, and you see this in Amazon and other places, they tend not to be very diverse. And so, they create algorithms that don't find diverse people.
Fascinating. Yeah, and the opposite was true. I remember the original JPEG or GIF format, they used a Playboy Playmate. And so that was it wasn't like the full picture, but talk about misogynistic like craziness. They were just used the headshot of a Playboy Playmate. This was the 70s when they were doing computer imaging to try to do it. So that became like the standard photo that they used for everything. And then somebody backtracked and was like, is that from Playboy?
Can we find another image?
Can we just use something that's not a Playboy Playmate for everybody coming into college campus, then has to make that image and use their algorithms against it. So continue.
So I'm going to play here a little bit, and you'll see kind of as they move and talk and go, very clear the person left who the person on the right is, but we're not really making much progress here. And so what we set out to do is train for that, and then we're going to teach the world how to do so as well. Amazon famously recently, they used their AI, the ACLU used their AI on members of Congress, and it misidentified 28 members of Congress that thought that they were criminals or something like that.
How is that even possible? Like, I thought facial recognition was very accurate.
It's extremely accurate on pale males. Yes. You would be
Perfect.
99.99, I'm sure.
Just me and Leonardo DiCaprio, and then everything else we would figure out.
Exactly, correct. And maybe me, I might only be 89%.
That's interesting. Why is it? Is it because of the training data?
The training data. Women tend to be 30% less accurate than men in these systems.
Again, because of training data?
Because of training data and in AI.
Can't that be fixed like very quickly because of Google Photos or Flickr or some data set?
This is what kind of gets our goat, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to solve it for everyone.
Right.
A 30-person company in Miami.
Right.
We're going to show everyone how we did it. When Amazon, Google, Microsoft should have solved this long ago.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't police use this? Is it because they're going to just very quickly misidentify people?
So what you see now is really kind of state of the art. So imagine if that was in the hands of the police, right? And so we had a company come to us. They wanted to use facial recognition in a body camera, and imagine if it finds someone who's a known criminal, it'll just kind of give them a Pavlovic response, a little buzz.
Oh yeah.
Saying, hey, prepare yourself. What have you.
Now you put the cop on tilt. They think they're going to get shot. This is a murder suspect, and realize they're 30% of the time it's going to be inaccurate.
So imagine people of color being misidentified.
It's already scary enough to like be black while driving, right? Like it's like they make a joke out of it, but it's actually terrorizing.
I'd rather Uber. So yeah. So this is the challenge in a situation where it doesn't read me as well as it reads you. It's going to be literally dangerous. So I've said to people in the past, if I had a taser, right, and it only worked well on black people but didn't work well on white people, no one would buy that taser. It wouldn't be acceptable, right? And so why is this acceptable?
It's not, obviously, yeah. And facial recognition, the big players, Google and Facebook, they've been not super aggressive in deploying it, right? They're a little concerned, so they know there's some weakness here.
Yeah. Correct. They're mostly just inside of their own walled gardens.
Right.
The most Amazon and Microsoft are the ones that use it kind of outside of their walls.
Yeah, it seems like the only time I've ever seen facial recognition is in Google Photos, and then also tagging photos on Facebook, I guess. Right? Do they use facial recognition?
Yeah, they do.
They're like, this is probably Jason. Fascinating. So what else is the company working on?
So we do it retail.
You'll
be able to just walk into a store, pick up an item, and just walk out.
So that's like the new Amazon stores.
Like an Amazon store. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We do it in cruise lines. So you've already uploaded a picture of your passport, so you can just walk right on and just go right to your room, your stateroom. Literally a variety. We do some things in emotion that are interesting as well. Understanding how people feel about movies or ads or content.
That seems to be a pretty, wouldn't that print money? Like, don't a lot of people want to know in focus groups what people think of a new video?
Absolutely.
Do people take the time to do that, or?
They should, because if they don't, bad things happen. Like what was it? Was it Taylor Swift or what was it where she had a Pepsi and it solved all?
Oh no, that was one of the Jenners.
That's right, Kylie Jenner.
Kylie or Kendall was going to take care of whatever the riots were or whatever.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, with the Pepsi.
Yeah. They didn't test that.
They did not test that one.
I'm positive they didn't test that.
No, I think universally people were like, yeah, you co-opting Black Lives Matter, and with a Pepsi, you're going to make police woke.
Yeah.
It was super weird.
Lame. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't test that one. We all know that your path to financial freedom is looking bleak when you have high interest debt. I've been there. I had those 20% interest cards. It was terrible, especially if your FICO score isn't great. And trust me, I had a bad FICO score for much of my life. Well, Upstart is revolutionizing the process of personal lending. They offer personal loans, but not like the ones at bank or credit unions. No, they go beyond the traditional FICO score to assess credit worthiness. They give loans based on your potential rather than your history. And they reward you based on your education and job history with a smarter interest rate. Quick, 2 minutes, zip, zip, zip. You go online and you find out your Upstart rate. Checking your Upstart rate is always free and very important. It will not affect your credit. Once your loan is approved, the funds transfer to you the next business day. 100,000 users, over 100,000 in fact, have paid off credit cards, they've funded their weddings, they've made large purchases. So here's your call to action, everybody. I want you to go to upstart.com/twist and find out how low your Upstart rate is. Once again, it's going to only take you 2 minutes and it's not going to affect your credit. Go to upstart.com/twist. Here's a quick disclaimer. Loans made by Cross River Bank, an FDIC-insured New Jersey State Chartered Commercial Bank. Restrictions do apply, and details are at upstart.com/twist. Again, upstart.com/twist. Takes only 2 minutes. It's not going to affect your credit. Find out what your rate is. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode. With these ICOs, are you going to do a token for the usage, a usage token, or do you think that that's a gimmick? I'm curious.
So we have a usage token, but we didn't charge anybody for it. It's absolutely free. We didn't raise a dime for it. One, because again, we wanted the security token to be what it is. And two, you might have scale at one point. Eventually you'll become American Airlines and airlines miles, but we're not there yet. And so let's wait and see what happens with it. And then as that value grows.
How do you charge for the product now?
Just cash.
Do you charge on usage, or is it a server or monthly fee?
So if you're in the cloud, it's usage, it's number of transactions. We charge you per transaction, like a lot of the cloud services. If you're doing it on-premise, we charge you based on how much time or how many containers, that sort of thing.
Is it easy to spoof? I know like people in the movies will like put a photo of somebody over their face, and is that realistic to spoof computers with photos and?
Well, a photo of you is you,
right?
But we're looking at releasing some things next year that actually identify.
Got it. So if I hold up a photo, I could trick some of these things. But the Apple iPhone unlock requires you to sort of tilt your face a bit.
Yeah, Apple iPhone unlocks a completely different technology.
Oh, really? Explain.
Yeah, that's sending infrared images off of something called a pixel projector on the phone all over your face. So it's judging the distances between things and the kind of the raises. So essentially, it's like cartography, essentially.
Right. So it's like if your face was a mountain, it knows like the peak and the valleys and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly correct.
That's why it can do it from different angles, and it has you rotate your face in a circle.
And it's one-to-one. It just can verify that it's you, but isn't, can I find this person, a needle in a haystack kind of thing, which is what Kairos does.
And running a company in Miami, advantages, disadvantages?
Advantages are costs, certainly.
Yeah.
A senior 10-year dev is an $85,000 a year kind of role. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's certainly a big thing. Rent, Class A office space is $20 a square foot, that sort of thing.
A month.
A year.
It's like, what? It literally is $10 a square foot here for Class A, I think. $120 a year. It's bonkers.
Yeah, so I don't even understand what that means.
It means a law firm or a hedge fund can afford it and no one else.
No one else, yeah.
Yeah, it's bonkers. It's gone supernova here. And hiring people is easier. They stay longer, I would guess.
Certainly stay longer. It depends easier depending on the roles. We have a lot of technical folks, a lot of engineers. I think that senior manager, right? That CMO we spoke about earlier, that kind of special hire that maybe worked at an API company somewhere else.
Right.
You got to kind of pick that person from wherever they are and move them to Miami.
Which I would think, given how insane it is to live in Silicon Valley and how terribly run San Francisco is as a city and arduous it is and like brutal it is on people's soul and the cost, do you find people leaving Silicon Valley or LA to come to Miami? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, a 2-bedroom condo, oceanfront, Carrera marble tile, the whole nine, it's just like a $2,700 a month condo.
What?
You can buy a 2-bedroom condo a little further north, like in Broward County or, 40-minute drive into the office, whatever, for between $87,000 and $110,000.
So it's free. It's basically free. If people in Silicon Valley want to punch you in the face right now, speaking of facial recognition, like, we literally want to kill you. It's like, Here, I think a 2-bedroom to buy is $1 million in San Francisco. And then in Oakland, maybe $500,000. Or, whatever, Berkeley, or maybe in the South Bay.
Is it 2-bedroom, 19-bathroom? Like
no, it's just ridiculous. Everything is $1,000 or $2,000 a square foot to buy here. Oh. Like, it is gone insane.
North of the city, the average mortgage is probably $450 a month. In the city, the mortgage is probably much higher, maybe a couple thousand.
And there are some investors down there, but not a lot.
No.
So you have to come here to raise the money. How do you convince Silicon Valley investors like Mitch Kapoor to invest?
So early stage, a lot of investors. So because there's a ton of wealth. So in California, there are 3 startups for every 1 angel investor. In Florida, there are 3 angel investors for every 1 startup.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Because you get rich, you move to Florida. That's kind of like what you do.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
But do those people like to take risk and invest in startups, or?
They got nothing but they're done.
They have no time.
Yeah.
They have time.
They have time, yeah.
And nothing to do, and they're sitting there on money, and it's $2,700 a month for their
and there's no income tax.
So that's actually the hack then.
Correct.
Raise the angel around there, and then build an office here, like a sales office or something.
Correct.
And then raise that. Where else do you think this face detection is going to go? I like the archival footage. Did you find when you did that archives of people who ESPN or whoever didn't even know they had on tape?
Yeah, we get questions sometimes from them saying, "Can you verify that is this really Ted Cruz's dad?" That kind of thing when that whole thing happened, right? We get questions, "Is this Billy the Kid?" All kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
There's another use case which kind of touches our heart a little bit. Maybe not commercial, but a girl named Emma Yang out of New York. She's 12 years old or so, concert pianist, which is in itself amazing. But her grandmother had Alzheimer's, and she was very embarrassed asking people, "Oh, who are you?" And they say, "Oh, I'm your son." It's very painful, right?
Yeah.
And so she wrote an app and uses our facial recognition to verify who someone is for a grandmother, so she can look at her phone. This is your son. This is the relationship between this person and you. And she doesn't have to be embarrassed every time.
See, that's where the augmented reality will come back into play, is when you combine it with facial recognition. Like, you've met this person 3 times. Yeah. Even, forget about having Alzheimer's, but just being a normal person who has a hard time remembering names. You'll be having glasses on, will have the person's name above their head.
Yeah, it saves you all the embarrassment.
A lot of embarrassment.
Yeah. We've met before. We've had long conversations, but it was 3-4 years ago, right?
Right. I meet everybody.
Yeah,
it's really hard.
I saw you at the
No, it
Starbucks.
just happens to me. Somebody bought me a bottle of champagne. I was at a restaurant last night, and I was like, "Who is this person?" I was like, "Oh, I met them at the Founder Institute 4 years ago when I spoke." It's like, I do 10 speaking gigs a month. Like, what the chances I'm gonna remember this? I am so excited that Campaign Monitor is a new partner here at This Week in Startups. Welcome to the family, Campaign Monitor. If you don't know Campaign Monitor, it is the easiest to use email marketing platform in the world. They have amazing mobile-friendly templates and a drag-and-drop email editor, as well as award-winning 24/7 customer support. It's used by over 250,000 businesses worldwide, and we started using it for our AI campaigns, and you're not going to believe this, but we tripled our open rate. We now have a 48.5% open rate with our first campaign, and that was in under 24 hours. And here's how it works. You go to campaignmonitor.com/twist, and this is us actually building it. You sign up for free. Again, campaignmonitor.com/twist, create an account, zip, and then you click on create a new campaign. And my CMO Presh names the campaign, the launch scale invite, and he says, let's personalize it with the person's first name. Boom. Now he's going to pick one of these beautifully designed templates. There's so many to choose from, and they're all designed by award-winning designers, and he finds one he likes. We value your feedback, and he says you're invited to launch scale. He edits it. You see him go to Google Docs, cut and paste, zip, and instead of completing a survey, he says, hey, I'm going to make this template my own. I'm going to apply for a free Founder Pass. You saw him zip into the footer and say, you know what? We focus on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And he puts that in there. You see him putting our sponsors in. And he actually works at this pace. He's a superhuman CMO, Presh. And here's the preview window. Beautiful. You can see what it looks like on mobile. Perfect. He picks what list he wants to share it with. And then he He can schedule the delivery. Does he want to send it now or at a specific time? He's going to pick a specific time, Eastern time, tomorrow in the morning, boom, and he can look at the worldwide view of people opening it in real time. The first person opened it in Arizona, and we can zip in and watch over time people doing it. That's how easy it is. And they have over 250 integrations in their app store, and you can connect it to your favorite CMS, your blog, or other third-party software. And again, in our first test, we tripled our open rate to 48.5% in the first 24 hours. You can easily set up A/B testing and figure out what works and what doesn't, and you can create these custom automated emails that you've probably been getting, where you send multiple emails over time to somebody in a campaign, All this stuff is available right now at a very affordable price. Go to campaignmonitor.com/twist, and you'll just go to campaignmonitor.com/twist. Listeners who sign up and become a customer will receive a free t-shirt. Once again, campaignmonitor.com/twist. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode. So how accurate is this emotional detection when you do that?
It's very accurate.
Yeah.
So there's certain involuntary movements in your face when you're feeling certain emotions. We can't control them. So the AI can find when those muscles are moving in your face and then detect what emotions you're feeling.
And multi-face detection?
Yeah, we do that too. So not just one face, but multiple faces in an image.
Is this something where you think we'll be able to detect when there's a terrorist or like a shooting possibility? You'll be like, this person's acting weird, and they got like a whole crowd of people and pulling them out of the crowd?
100%. If I can show you one more image here, I'll show you the difference between today, and you can just cut this as you want. Okay, so.
Oh my God. Yeah, you would find me at all the Knicks games in the 90s.
So we have here.
Boston sucks. I just wanted to make sure that people are clear. We're seeing a picture of the Boston Celtics.
Just put it out there. Boston's terrible.
There's the Greek freak.
So
Milwaukee Bucks.
This image is of even our own facial recognition, which is in itself world class about 6 months ago. This is machine learning versus AI. So this is in machine learning. We can find those faces. We can read the emotions. We can see who those folks are in those three kind of biggest images. And as you see, of course, there's other faces here, right in the background, but they're pixelated. This guy's got a hat, his glasses, he's over his guy's shoulder. Exactly. So this is a machine learning world. And then the next picture is an AI world. Look at all of those.
Yeah, so what does the AI do that the machine learning doesn't do to figure this out?
A pixel by pixel, almost pore by pore comparison of faces. And so we're not looking just for points anymore. We're looking at the entirety of your face.
Got it. And then the algorithm goes and looks for that person. So if there was another, God forbid, Boston bombing,
we could find that person.
You could literally look at the security cameras and zip, figure out who was in the room when it happened.
Yeah, it's deep.
Yeah. It's interesting. And then in China, the rumor is that the government already has this technology indexing everybody and everywhere they go. Does it make you a little worried about privacy?
Well, it's not even a rumor, it's a fact, which is very scary. I think China is the kind of dystopian future that we're worried about here, and why we're so privacy focused. Two things the Chinese do. One, they use facial recognition to identify ethnic minorities in a Muslim population in a certain part of the country. And when folks leave that area, the police apprehend them and then move them back to the only section allowed to be in.
No.
Yes.
That's bonkers.
It's crazy stuff.
That's nuts.
Yeah, and so this is another reason why we don't work with government, because government knows everything about us. It has a passport photo, has a driver's license. It can put a camera on Main Street and know every single person that's driving by in a car.
And if you wanted to be incognito, putting on a baseball cap and sunglasses would not do it.
No, as you see here, where would even find that face? Now, could we match that person? Who knows? But
come close.
The first step is there, yeah.
Yeah. That's the interesting part is like, will people be able to opt out of this in some way? The answer is probably depends on regulation.
So we're pro-regulation and we're pro-opt-outs. We think it's important.
So a person could say, here's my photo. I don't ever want to be indexed. Opt me out.
I think that's fair in our society, certainly.
Does Amazon have this as like a web service too, or no? Facial recognition?
They do, and they're anti-regulation.
Yes. Yeah. They're just... So people could be using Amazon's web service right now for all kinds of nefarious purposes. They wouldn't even know how people are using it.
They would be, as long as they paid, they're fine, yeah.
Wow. So the technology's out there. How do they charge for that? They just like usage?
Per transaction, yeah.
So I could scrape every photo from LinkedIn and then correlate it with some other database, let's say Tinder.
Yeah, you could
a dating app.
You could illegally take images from somewhere else and run them through Amazon as long as you pay for the storage and pay for the transaction.
So if it would be very easy for Russians to take every image off of LinkedIn and Facebook they could find with the names and then correlate it to a dating site or something.
So this has happened in Russia before.
It has?
Yes. So in Russia, there's a facial recognition company that took off the dark web, took driver's licenses photos, and compared them to porn stars, and then identified people who were in pornography.
In the adult industry.
In the adult industry. And then people and then listed all their names on the website.
Wow.
And then people started shaming their families, and it was just
That's
really
crazy.
ugly. Yeah. Regulation's important.
So you seem to know all the crazy misuses of technology. What other crazy misuses you're kind of blowing my mind at all this craziness that's occurred. What else has occurred that's nuts?
There's a case again, while we don't work with government, there's a case in the UK where the police department was using a facial recognition solution that was 30% less effective on women versus men, and just continued to use it as an accepted result.
So they would find the wrong woman.
Imagine doing a lineup, right? So that lineup would be 30% more of a chance that they had the wrong people in the lineup based on this tool.
And they know that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then what happens is, and this is just human psychology, someone comes in, they have a fuzzy memory. Yeah, that could have been her, right? You're more likely to be in that lineup because of the facial recognition.
What's the reasonable compromise? We've heard like the horror stories now, and it's pretty scary.
Thanks.
Thanks for terrorizing us. What would be, if you were the mayor of San Francisco or whatever city, New York, and you had to choose, you got a real crime problem going on. We've had a bunch of stabbings here in San Francisco as an example of, hey, we've got all these cameras. We could go deploy facial recognition, probably find the person who stabbed this person. Should we go get the maniac who stabbed everybody or not? Because you're saying police shouldn't have it, but in this case, it would seem to me that I would lean towards maybe the police should have it.
Let's say you're the mayor. And
MayorJason.com?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you decided, I'm going to do this, but I want to do it the right way, right?
Yeah, what's the right way? That's what I'm kind of getting at.
There you go. So, one, I think a referendum will be certainly very interesting. Say, listen, we could do these things. These are the positives, these are negatives. Let's all agree as a community that this is the direction we want to go. Two, I'd like to see some great training for the folks that are using this tool, right? So just take the 4, 6, or 8 officers in the facial recognition group, train them up so they can understand, and they can only refer real people with real issues to the detectives as opposed to just rolling it out generally.
I would go a step further. I think that it should not be under the auspices of the police department. Number one, I know a lot of cops. And you've probably seen in some movies, cops run a license plate, they do a favor for a friend. You may have heard of this. And it's the edge case, but these things do happen. So any system that can be hacked or misused will be. That's just the basic law of systems, whether digital or not. So it would be better if all this data was stored by a group that had to be subpoenaed in order to leverage it. So if you knew somebody was being stabbed, you could go to the mayor's office and say, or to a judge and say, we would like to query the CC closed circuit cameras in San Francisco for this individual for this reason.
Right.
Then they would pull it, and then the judge or some group of bureaucrats would look at it with you and say, okay, here's what we pulled. It's reasonable for you to go visit and knock on these doors and ask these people where they were on the night of the 15th.
Yeah.
But it's not reasonable for you to just go querying the girl you met on Tinder who no longer wants to date you, because this is like crazy stalking technology.
Probable cause would be an excellent way to look at that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What was interesting too is license plate reading. So the town I live in, Hillsborough, which is just south of here, had a whole series of break-ins, which was like really disturbing since no crime occurs there, like zero. It was like I think it was rated the safest community in California. And so this whole discussion over license plate readers, and a bunch of communities have put these in where the police then get a record. It's sort of like knowing who called who on the phone. You don't know who's driving the car, but you know that license plate went through the community. And so if a license plate goes off that's never been in the community before, you can say, there's a new license plate in the community. What are your thoughts on that kind of technology?
So we try to parallel this to like the real world, right?
Yeah.
So in this concept in the law of prima facie, right, on its face. A license plate is public information. Right. If anybody who drives by you can read that license plate. Just like when we do our work in age, gender, ethnicity, that's just, if I hired an intern to stand in front of a retail store and just, oh yeah, black male, 35, right? It's on its face, right? There's no hiding it. So I think those things are fine because you could find that out if you wanted to put a police officer at the entrances of Hillsborough. Right. I think where it gets to be kind of a superhuman capability is where you get to be a little more sketchy, right? So if you're trying to find one person in a billion, right? Maybe that's different. Maybe if you're searching all the license plates in the entire state of California to find this one thing, maybe that's
because they already have that at toll booths. They record every license plate going through a toll booth based on my limited knowledge of the law and crime based on Law and Order.
Yeah, there's no expectation of privacy in a toll booth.
Yeah, based on me watching Law and Order, I believe that technology is out in the field.
It's good enough for me.
I love the idea of going through the archival footage. My God, what an incredible tool that would be to know who was in the background or who was at certain concerts or whatever. I mean, there was a privacy issue, I guess. But then again, you know, if Jack Nicholson's sitting in the front row of a Lakers game, he doesn't have the expectation of privacy.
He's still Jack Nicholson.
Still Jack Nicholson. But that would be incredible to just see. Because you know what's so funny? I just had somebody email me, and they're like, is this you? And it was literally a Mets playoff game from 15 years ago when I had first row seats, and the umpire got into a shoving match with like the coach. And I'm standing right there, and somebody just happened to be watching like the 10 biggest outbursts of all time. And I'm sitting there like right in between like, wow, check that out. And I'm like yelling and screaming about the Mets or something. And somebody saw it randomly on YouTube, was like, is this you? And I was like, yep, that's embarrassingly me, yes, yelling and screaming. Thank God they didn't have cameras when I was going to the Knicks games because...
Well, now that you're a public figure, you would be in this database.
Derek Coleman threw a glass of water at me at a game.
Sixers?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We were heckling him. It wasn't just me, though. It was the entirety of Madison Square Garden was heckling him. But he literally took his glass of water and turned around and threw it at the whole row. Yeah. It was pretty funny.
Were you heckling more than other people, or?
I was probably heckling more than the average. But here's the video. Watch this video. We're going through. Great pull, whoever pulled that. Now, see if you can see me.
Oh, that's definitely you.
That is skinny Jason. Look at that skinny face. Look how svelte I am. Look at me yelling. I'm more passionate.
Why are you yelling?
And then don't look at the girl next to me because she's a model in New York who I dated, and that's a very long time ago. But yeah, that's it. That's the sum of me. But this was a Mets game where it went bonkers. You saw it, right, Jackie? You saw me so clearly in the background. So what happened was a friend of mine owned a team, one of the baseball teams, I wouldn't say which one, and he would get free, they would always give him the opportunity to get tickets to all the playoff games. Mm-hmm. He's like, you're a Yankee fan? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you're a Mets fan? I'm like, oh, my grandfather was. Yeah, I like the Mets. He's like, not using my tickets. Can I send them? I'm like, okay. He's like, literally sends me a FedEx with 2 tickets to each of the games. And I was like, wow, good to be me. Anyway, there was a first row seat, as you can see there. It's pretty great. All right. Well, continued success with it. It's great to see that you have raised a ton of money. You've got revenue, obviously.
We do.
If you have 30 people, profitable yet? We're close?
Yeah, getting there.
How do you think about that? Getting to profitability or continuing to raise money? Because you said it's hard if you're in Miami. Also hard as you feel it's hard as an African-American man to raise the growth capital still?
Oh, yeah. This is it. This round is to get profitable.
Got it.
For us, yeah.
So you don't take for granted that there's another round for you.
No.
See, I think that's the difference right now. We talk about it, like inclusion and things making progress. we're making progress, but I think still there's some hurdles that it's harder for an African-American founder to or a female founder to hit that crazy growth round maybe.
Absolutely. I mean, the number of African-Americans that have raised more than $10 million is like, you could count on both hands, I think. I mean, it's a very small number.
Something to work on.
Yeah.
It seems like we've made progress on the early stage where I exist, but the later stage, harder, yeah. So you have to get to profitability on this money.
Must be done.
But you've got tons of runway.
Yeah.
God, it's so amazing, these ICOs.
We think it's good. It's the future for companies with minority founders or companies that are other places. We had a lot of folks from Africa investing in Kairos because they wanted to invest in an African-American founder. We had people from really all over the world because they just see African-Americans as, innovative Americans. They don't even delineate
Fascinating.
the racial piece.
I've never heard that before. See, this is what I thought about the ICO craze. There were a bunch of scammers involved in it, right? Mm-hmm. So there's 2,000 ICOs that occurred. They said something like 60 or 70% are MIA shut down already. So that's crazy. Like they never even got their products out. But there is hidden in those 2,000, at least a couple of dozen that'll break out. They'll figure it out. They'll get their products to market. But you had a product and then you raised the ICO. So there's very few of those.
And security ICO, very few.
Very few.
Yeah.
The thing that using the tokenized securities.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think is super fascinating about it and instructive about the ICO craze, which is now over, was it showed how many people internationally have buckets of money and would like to bet on founders and startups. Like African angel investors, people from the Middle East. Like who knew, like there's a legion of angel investors in Africa or the Middle East that want access to companies in America.
Yeah.
And the fact that they could ship the money here with Ethereum. Did you accept like Ethereum or all that kind of stuff? That's, I think, the superpower of all of this is, and what was the average investment size or the median size?
There's some people that are whales that kind of take it up, but I'd say...
that's why I was kind of going for the median. Like
like $20,000.
Yeah. So these are not like $2 million checks, $10 million checks from VC firms.
10,
Lots of
20.
small 10, 20K checks.
Yeah.
It's like syndicates, except it's global.
And we had 95% were international.
95%.
95%.
Not, see, I thought it would have been the opposite.
Yeah,
90%
exactly. All the
domestic.
capital's outside.
That is crazy. See, they don't have the ability to have access to deals in America.
Correct. Or you also see like folks in Turkey, a lot of Turkish folks. The currency fluctuations are so high that you're trying to get your money out of that, out of the lira into Kairos, essentially.
Right. Yeah, it's for them. It's like, well, this is a better bet than my own currency.
Than my own bank account.
I saw a video. I don't know if you saw this video on Twitter today. I'm sure Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie will pull it up before I even finish my sentence. But they were on Twitter dumping Venezuelan dollars off of dump trucks.
Yes.
And like kids dumping them in wheelbarrows because the currency has been devalued so much that whatever that dollar denomination was is now worth such a small amount that it's not even worth. It's worthless.
Yeah, less than the paper.
Less than the paper.
Yeah.
So they were just literally like dumping it into a garbage can.
Some of our best crypto folks at Kairos are Venezuelan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they've been doing crypto for years now because they had to get their money out of Venezuela.
Because their currency got totally devalued. See, that's where it's going to be interesting. Like the next time that happens, if a group of people are able to actually protect their wealth and it becomes publicly known, that could be the use case of whatever amount of money you have in the bank. Like if you could buy dollars, you'd buy them. If you could buy gold, you'd buy them. And if you could buy some kind of cryptocurrency. What do you think we're in this like trough of despair right now. Ethereum's collapsed. Bitcoin's collapsed. When you took that money, did you keep it in Ethereum and Bitcoin and did you lose 90%?
Converted it right away.
You converted immediately?
Yeah.
And you raised it when the Bitcoin was high?
Ethereum was what we used it. It was like 500, 400, 500.
So before the peak, but higher than it is now.
Exactly correct.
And if you had held it, you could have 2x'd your money or 3x'd it. And if you held it too long, you would have lost half of it.
Correct. And we're not a hedge fund. We're not traders. That money's for capital. For
what's going to happen with like the top 2 or 3? Ripple, Ethereum, Bitcoin.
I think
are any of these going to survive, or
Bitcoin's like a reserve currency almost?
Yeah.
Right? I think that one will kind of be there, kind of like the U.S. dollar kind of always will be there. I think Ethereum's good because it's codable,
Right.
And there's real use case there. But the others, we'll just have to see. I mean, Ripple's kind of propped up by other folks, right? So,
Right, and Ripple never had a use case.
Correct.
Their use case is donating it.
Yeah, I say Ripple's like the Hulu of crypto.
Oh, that's a serious diss.
Yeah.
You're like, it's not Netflix, it's not Disney, it's not CBS,
That's right.
it's not YouTube.
That's right.
It's Hulu.
That's right.
Yeah, that was pretty harsh, dude. Right now, oh, here it is. Thank you, Emmy Award producer Jackie. There's literally people dumping money in the garbage. It's like this kid's like, can we get this out of here and can we go get ice cream? It's like, yeah, we're going to take all this money and we can buy one ice cream.
Oh
This kid's jumping into a pile of money. If it's accurate, who knows what this is? This could be monopoly money, but the internet says it's Venezuelan money, and it looks like it's a tropical, by the palm trees, it looks somewhat tropical. So I'm going to go ahead and believe that this is reality of the kid jumping around. Continued success. I assume you're hiring for some positions?
Yes, absolutely. Product management, AI folks, engineers,
Great.
sales.
At Love Kairos, LOVEKAIROS, and Brian Brackeen, BRACKEEN. Welcome back to the program. And it's amazing. You were literally one of like 3 or 4 founders that Angela brought.
Yeah.
And now you're the last one standing.
Here we are.
How many people were in your class?
8, I think.
How many are still in business 5 years later?
2.
How's the other one doing? Better than you?
Not as good.
Not as good.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. So you're the number 1 from your class. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And now you have to be profitable.
On it.
On it. All right. I'll see you in Miami. I'll be back down there. We have 4 investments now 3 from Miami, 1 from just south of Miami, 1 from Orlando.
So if you want to do a
4.
show from Kairos headquarters, you're more than welcome.
You know what? I was down there for this Emerge Americas conference and had a great time. Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie came with me. And Pitbull and I were on a panel together. And I'm backstage.
So Miami.
And Pitbull is wearing his glasses and his vest.
Sure.
He's like, Jason Calacanis, I want to show you just how crazy Miami can get. And I looked at him and I said, Pitbull, I want you to show Jason Calacanis exactly how crazy Miami can get. And he laughed. I came into the green room. There were 40 people in the green room. And I walked in with Jackie.
Sure.
It was Pitbull and I. Pitbull had 39 people in his entourage. I had Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie. So I had him outnumbered.
Clearly.
We have 4 Emmys. He's got none. But so on the Emmy count, but I was just like, I need to travel with at least 30 more people. I can't be rolling into the green room. Pitbull had his dancer team. I don't have a dance team with me, but he had a dance team with him. He had his vodka company with him. No, was it vodka or was it rum? It was rum.
Rum.
He has the 315 rum.
305.
305, sorry. 305, I'm from the 212, the 718. He has his 305 rum, and he's forcing me to drink rum at 11 a.m., and we're going to go on stage in front of 2,000 people. And he's like, you have to try my rum. I'm like,
Did you?
yeah, of course. You turn Pitbull down? I want to see how crazy Miami can get. I'm not going to So we had like 2 rums, and I'm like literally on this panel with him. He's hilarious. All right, continued success. Thank you, Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie, and we will see you all next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.